Hi there everybody, it's Steve Carson. We're here on the bow of the Vagabond. We've just gotten back from another fantastic, almost record-breaking trip, fishing the bluefin tuna all night long for a couple of nights, and if you could stay awake, there was more fishing during the day. So you kind of had the choice, you could do one or the other or both, depends on how much coffee you want to drink. But we are also gifted with Hayden Hecht here, the lead deckhand on the Vagabond, and this guy, he looks young, but he has seen everything. Twice. And so what we're going to do, I'm going to kind of go over what I like and what I do, and he's going to say that's stupid. But what it's going to give you is a couple of different ways to look at things and decide what's going to work best for you. So I'm going to start out with kind of the default night, and this is nighttime fishing, by the way. The default bluefin tuna jig for the last couple of years has been the 400-gram rip roller. And 400 grams is a lot. They actually make these as big as 500 grams and as light as 200, but the 300 and the 400 really have emerged as the most popular because they work. And the way that I like to hook them is with, on the tail end, I'm going to zoom this into the camera. Hopefully the camera can see that. 2 big assist hooks on very heavy cord. Don't use the assist hooks that have a thin piece of cord there. The bluefin tuna will bite right through them. Probably the #1 color over the years has been the red with the chartreuse polka dots, but it's much more a matter of, and all through this, of depth control. If the captain calls out a depth and he says the fish are at 275 feet, it is not a suggestion. He's telling you where they are. So typically, you're going to drop your jig. If you want to make sure you have marked line, either buy it metered or mark it yourself. Drop about 50 feet below whatever he says and wind it back as fast as you can, about 50 feet above it. And if you don't get a bite, you probably will, but if you don't get a bite, rinse and repeat. And you make sure you want to be as absolutely vertical as you can be. If there's a lot of wind and a lot of current, you might have to reset a couple of different times, but it's that depth control, following the captain's instructions, that is the key. And also, I just want to get this in before we go to the rest. You are not TV fishermen. You do not set the hook with a rawr, rawr, rawr. All you do when you get a bite is turn the handle, keep turning it, turning it, turning it. And also make sure you've checked with Hayden to make sure that your drag is set properly. Too loose and too tight are both bad. Like most things, in the middle is the way you want to go. But yeah, that 400-gram rip roller is if you just don't have any information, you don't know what they're biting, that's a good one to start with, because no matter how deep they are, you can pretty much get to them. Slightly smaller, and also another favorite of mine, is the SK jig. And once again, I've got that a little bit smaller size, but still the 2 assist hooks with the heavy cord. And again, if you don't have that heavy cord, it's going to be heartbreak. This one has a little bit different swimming action, fish being fish. Whatever it is you thought they were going to do, they're going to do something different. So you got to make sure that you're working around the system a little bit to find out what they want that day. Now, I've talked about the 2 default lures. When you have no choice, you have no information, you don't know what they're biting. I'm going to put both of these in your hand and let you tell what you like to have, including where you like the hooks to be.
Yeah, Steve, you hit that one pretty good. The bigger size rip roller is pretty spot on for like the nights with a lot of wind and a lot of current. That 400 and 500 gram, that's a pretty good go-to. Colors, I don't really discriminate. I know some guys have their favorites. Hooks, I will say, the 2 assist hooks like this, that's a pretty much standard and go-to for us. The treble hooks, over time, we've noticed that you end up pulling more. The Daiwa SK, that's another standout. I personally really like that one. That's a pretty killer jig. We fish it quite a bunch here. Once again, the treble or the assist hooks on the bottom, we dig that. If you are gonna do the double hooks, we highly recommend and stress that you pick one side or the other, not both sides, not one on the bottom and one on the top. It doesn't help you catch fish. It almost makes it harder when you foul hook them. We really recommend using just the bottom for what we like to do. And size, I like that 300 gram starting out. That's a good one to stick to.
All right, so, and there's those are the default choices. There's 2 subjects I can hear you through the internet, I know you want to know about, and I'm going to hit the first one first. Hayden's got one in his hand. We're going to each hold one, and that is the Tuna Bomb. Tuna Bombs are very heavy for their size. I mean, you can look and see how thick and heavy they are. so you can get a lower profile lure that's going to sink faster. And sometimes on very small jigs, I do better with a very heavy, that's an owner ST76 treble hook. And Hayden is correct that they will pull more, but some of these jigs get bit better with a treble hook. So you have to balance the math on how you come out ahead.
I would just like to chip in for a quick second and say, guys, the conditions change night by night, day by day, hour by hour. Sometimes this is the go-to, and sometimes the 400-gram rip roller is a go-to.
Yeah, and show them those both weigh the same.
They're the same weight, but the size difference is literally almost double, right? So, and that's one of the things, going back into just checking in with the crew and the skipper. Hey boss, hey guys, what do you guys recommend? What's been working? It's not that that's all you have to use, but it's a good starting point. It's a good starting point to get you in the right direction, and don't be afraid to adjust. So I just wanted to chip in on that one.
Okay, and the thing I know you want us to talk about, I can hear you, is the T word, tungsten. And I really want to hear from Hayden on this one, because this is a not only a fishing decision, it's a financial decision. Tungsten jigs, I'm sure you've noticed, are not cheap, and they're never going to be cheap. So they're an investment. If you need them to help you make a successful catch, hold on to that red one, Hayden. These are all tungsten, and you can get pretty much the same colors as you do in regular jigs. So although colors, I think, are more of a psychological aid.
Yeah, it's a confidence thing, right? Fish your confidence bait. If you like the Katy Perry, go ahead and get that thing in the water. If you like that red and polka dot, go for it. I like bright colors. I just do. So the chartreuse and pink, that would be my go-to.
And so the thing that I've found, and I'm going to let Hayden chime in his opinion, what you get with tungsten, besides a lighter wallet, is you get a much smaller profile for the same weight. So you can fish deep, and if the fish are just going through and biting anything, it's no particular advantage. But if they're down there eating on very small bait, and yes, elephants eat peanuts, so think about that, it's a way to get a 250 or a 300 gram jig that's very small and better matches the hatch. However, when you're doing that, make sure that you've got adequate hooks, because big tuna are going to bite these tungsten jigs, and you want to make sure that you maximize your
Steve, I want to borrow these two for a quick second.
Okay, yeah, I want you to.
Perfect example, guys. See how we have a set here on the top and a set here on the bottom. We're not mix matching. We're keeping them all on the same side. So that's the perfect example right here of what we're trying to talk about and go for.
All right, and the last thing that we're going to hit is more of a daytime thing, and that fishing is just getting started. I think I hooked the first daytime sniper fish of the year. Now what happened? I lost it, but that's besides the point. That's besides the point. That bite has not existed till this trip.
Yeah.
And the fish are a little smaller grade. We caught a couple small ones trolling on this trip, but why be sad that we're seeing more fish moving into the area? So we've got snipers come in regular lead material and tungsten, and that one is a 150 and that one's a 120. So even though this one weighs about 25% more, it's smaller.
Yeah, this is one of those Williamson ones. I dig these. These are great. These work just as well. These work when the boat stopped and we're sitting sideways and drifting for quite a while, and we kind of got a bunker bite going, cast one down swell and burn it up. These work great when the chum line gets going and the boat's about to come to a sliding stop. You drop that in the chum line, sink it out a couple 100 feet and burn it back up. It's almost like a yo-yo action. But these work great as well. You get fish from 20 pounds to 100, 120, 150 pounders like this. This is a great jig to have in your arsenal. And I've seen these work at night as well. Sometimes the smaller 40 to 60 pounders are up 150 feet and shallower. It's great. You can fish this on 60 pound, and it's not as heavy as a rail rod, and it's not as aggressive, I should say. It's more user friendly and fun to fish. So these are great to have in your tackle box as well, guys.
All right. Well, so, and anything in particular that when you see beginners or novices coming out on your boat, what's the biggest 2 errors that you see them doing that they can easily correct?
Just staying active on your feet, guys. It's really, really, really important when we're doing the nighttime fishing, because we have so much string out and there's obviously anywhere from 18 to 20 other passengers on the boat. It's big to keep your feet moving and stay straight up and down on your line, keeping your line right out in front of you. That's one of the big things I could recommend. And then beginner mistakes, I think everyone's guilty of it, is just being too shy to ask for help, man. We're here to help you guys. We want your success. Your success is our success. So don't ever be ashamed or nervous to check in with the crew. Hey guys, what can I do to increase my chances of catching one of these things? And at the beginning of every trip, the skipper always brings everybody in. Captain Andrew's great about it. We have a little discussion of our game plan and what we got going. That's a great time to ask, hey boss, is there any recommendations for us? What can I do? You know, so always checking with the crew. I think that's a big one. Staying straight up and down on your line and checking with the crew.
All right, guys out there in BD land, you heard it from the horse's mouth. If you don't get out on the Vagabond right away, you're gonna, and by right away, I mean this year, the year 2025, you're gonna miss out on some of the most spectacular bluefin tuna fishing ever seen in the state of California. So we'll see you soon. Hi there everybody, this is Steve. I just want to make sure that I thanked Hayden from the Vagabond and of course Captain Mike Lackey on the Vagabond for letting us shoot a little segment on his boat, but we learned so much from Hayden. These guys that are on the water every day, they have knowledge, just instinctive knowledge you can't get anywhere else. I just got off of a 3-day on the Vagabond. The fishing was absolutely insane. Now before that I hit what happened to us. The springtime and early summer conditions are really shaping up for the longer trips. If you're on a 7 or an 8-day trip, you're going to probably go down near the ridge or Lejos Rocks, and the yellowtail fishing basically is as good as it's ever going to be ever. Now in our previous episode we talked a little bit about dropper loop fishing for yellowtail. Probably in another episode or two we'll talk about yo-yoing and some of the other stuff. But they are catching as many big yellowtail as you could possibly want down there at the ridge. There's also some information, not a lot of boats are running the 7 and 8-day trips yet. A large school, maybe it's the same school that was there last year, of mixed yellowfin and bluefin above the ridge. And if that is indeed the same school as we had last year, it is going to be a barn burner. And in the next month or so, there are a number of 8-day trips going out on a number of boats, and I'm going to be one of them, going out on an 8-day on the Shogun here in just about 13 days. So when we come back from that, I know Nate is going to be meeting the boat, and we're going to have some great information for you. The yellowfin tuna that had been at Lejos Rocks seemed to have scattered out a little bit, but if anything, the yellowtail fishing is even better. So getting back to our 3-day trip that we just did, we made a run, about a 90-mile run, and we got there. It was still a little bit light, so the fish were not cooperative. Right at about 9:30 p.m. when it was completely full dark, we hooked our first bluefin. Throughout the trip, the bluefin that we're biting were in the neighborhood of as shallow as about 180 feet and as deep as 400 feet. And like always, like we talked about in the previous segment with the jigs, you want to make sure that your jig is as vertical as possible and at the depth that the captain tells you. It's really, really crucial. It played out, you know, dozens of times on our trip that depth control was crucial. You got almost an immediate bite if you were in the correct depth. Now, that first night, we got our first bite about 9:30, and it was still kind of scattered. The captain would be running, and he'd spot something on the meters. We'd drop in on them. About 2/3 of them, nothing happened at all. Just a lot of exercise cranking the jigs back. And then at about 11:30 or midnight, thankfully, just before people started maybe getting discouraged and going to bed, we had a really good hit for about 10 of these nice bluefin, and they were anything from a few 40, 50 pounders. Those were the little ones. And I would say the average was probably 60 to 95 pounds. We had a fair number over 100, but these were just all quality bluefin. We ended up that night with a little over 20. And the next morning we tried a little bit more for the bluefin. They were not biting very well. During the day we saw a few boils. I actually hooked one on the slide on a sniper, but he came off. But there was not a lot of daytime action. We did see trolling small lures. We caught a couple of bluefin that were under 10 pounds. And I know what you're thinking, oh, don't catch those babies. It was an indicator that you have a new body of fish coming in. That's why, and it was one of the very, very few instances of daytime fish. So very encouraging. Then the second night, it was almost a replay, except it was even better. We didn't catch anything till about 10 o'clock, then we caught 1 or 2. And then at about midnight, we caught about 3 or 4. And literally at 3 o'clock in the morning, and I know that it's not easy to stay up and stay alert, Whether you drink coffee or chew caffeine gum, do what you got to do. At 3 o'clock, they charged the boat. It was like an old school albacore trip, except for the fish were all 90 pounds and up. And pretty intense. They never really came too near the surface. Most of those bites on that particular stop were at 350 feet. So the fish were either down there because they liked it, or there was something that they were eating, because they were all nice and plump and fat, and they're in beautiful condition. So if you're a bluefin tuna eater, you're gonna love these fish. They are just beautiful, beautiful fish. And then the next day, during the daytime, again, we trolled around and got one little, I think it was about an 8 or a 9 pound bluefin on a cedar plug trolled. And then we stopped and we fished rockfish. And in another episode, I'm not gonna go too deep into this, but we had a short opportunity where we were able to do some slow pitch jigging over a reef that is not hit very often. And it was about, at least for me with my slow pitch jigs, about an 80% percentage of reds. And you know, a little bit of everything else. We got one really nice big lingcod. It was not really a great lingcod spot, but the number and the quality of the reds was fantastic. So don't leave your slow pitch rig behind. If you're on up to a 4-day trip, you can pretty much count on some rockfish fishing opportunity. So without further ado, we'll be looking forward to seeing you out on the water. Thanks a lot.